Good morning, everyone, and Boker Tov. Welcome to our Tanya class, Tanya and You Chapter 8. This is going to be Chapter 8, Part 2, because last week we were not able to get through the whole chapter. We had a little bit of a shorter class, so we're going to continue where we left off. We are in the middle of Chapter 8. Chapter 8 is a powerful chapter in Tanya. Is there any chapter in Tanya which isn't a powerful chapter? But now we're talking about Chapter 8. Chapter 8 continues on this topic of the three categories of things in the world or actions in the world that have a spiritual energy. The Tanya talks about it's not all what you just see with the naked eyes. There is more to this world than just the physical, the material. There is a spiritual energy that energizes the various actions, the various things in the world. And this is about thought, speech, and action. It starts with action. It speaks about thought as the speech as well, and it concludes with thought. So in the world of action, there are acts, there are things that we can do which are holy, kedusha, holiness, godly, divine, transparent. We see clearly how this is part of our mission. This is godly, holy. We have areas in life which we call from the three klipa, the categories of klipa, which are totally, there's a husk, there's a cover, it's covered over. We don't see the divinity within it. We don't see the holiness. It's locked away. It's asur. It's tied down in the realms of impurity. And then there's the middle category, the klipas noiga, the areas which are covered over, but they have a shine to it. We're able to transform it. And we spoke about this the last few weeks, how when we get involved in something mundane, which is klipas noiga, we are supposed to use it wisely, use it for part of our mission, part of a godly reason, and we're able to elevate it. We're able to transform those areas in life. However, when it comes to the areas of the three klippas, which are completely negative, we are unable to elevate it. And we spoke last week about the example that we use here in the beginning of chapter 8 is the idea of forbidden foods. If a Jew is eating a cheeseburger, something which is forbidden, that is an act of the three klippas. It's completely negative in the sense we don't have the ability to elevate it. And even retroactively, if I use that energy that I got from this breakfast, from my bacon and eggs, now I have energy to study Tanya. We are unable to elevate that act, that sinful act. It's tied down. And we touched upon this last week that, in other words, what the Tanya is teaching us is that it's not only about our motives, it's also about the facts on the ground. There is a spiritual energy behind this act. And come what may, no matter my motives, I can't elevate it. We use the example of poison, right? Poisonous food is dangerous. It's not poisonous because it's dangerous. It's dangerous because it's poisonous. In other words, even if I have a positive motive, yes, but I'm using it for good reasons. I'm going to consume it, but I'm going to try to elevate it. It's going to harm you. Even if it was done accidentally. I did not have the intention to consume the poisonous food. I had a mind this is going to be a healthy supper. Unbeknownst to me, it was poisonous, right? So no matter my motive, I could have been naive. I could have been, I was doing it for good reasons. But at the end of the day, the act that I've done is a negative act, right? Same is true with the actions that we do on a spiritual sense between us and God. If God tells us that this isn't good for you, there's a certain negative energy. It's the energy of klipa. And even if it was by accident, and even if it was done with the right intention, it cannot be elevated. So that was last week. The Tanya now says something very powerful. It's almost like if you read it fast, you could overlook it. In the practical Tanya, it's on page 105, talks about where does this come from. So I want to start with this. Tanya asks a question or gives an answer to a question it doesn't ask. But seemingly, this is what it's referring to. The question is as follows. So we know that we have within us a godly soul and an animal soul. The godly soul is the altruistic soul. The godly soul is the soul which is thinking about mission oriented. And our animal soul is the soul which is thinking of self, the selfish soul. It's self-oriented, it's egotistic, right? Thinking about self. And we said that when the Jewish person has a animal soul, it's not a soul of the three klippas. It's not the complete negative energy soul. It's klippas noiga. It's a soul that is involved in the mundane, which can be elevated. Could be elevated. Even the animalistic side of us is also a something that could be elevated. So the question is, where does it come from? Where does it come from that a person, a Jew, should go and do something sinful, which is completely, completely negative? In other words, like this. Every creature naturally does things which is natural to their nature, to their self, to their DNA, right? You have certain animals, you have a cow, you have sheep, you have domesticated animals, or you have right animals who are going to eat grass. You take a piece of meat and put it in front of a sheep, but not going to eat it. They need hay, they need grass. A few weeks ago, we took the kids. We were in Johnson City in Texas, outside of Austin, and we had a little farm, and we were feeding the animals. Right, you got to feed them what they want. Right, you can't feed them a piece of steak. You can't feed them a hot dog. They want to have grass, maybe some vegetables, some carrots, some lettuce. Okay. If you have a predator animal, you're going to a zoo and you're going to the lion, you're going to the tiger, you're going to the whichever animal you're going to. They don't want to have grass. They need meat because this is who they are. A human being has things that they need. So if you look at the way a human being is wired, especially the Jewish people, they have a godly soul. So I know when they do a mitzvah, I know where that comes from. They have an animal soul. So I know when they are thinking about self-pleasure, I understand where that comes from. It's the animalistic soul of a Jew. But the question is, when we do something sinful, completely negative, something which Tanya says we cannot even elevate, where does that come from? We don't have this within us. Where's that drive? How are we able to get involved in something which is completely, completely negative, something covering over completely God's spark within it that we cannot even elevate it? Shalish klipas atmei is the total impure negative energy. Where does it come from that we should be involved in this act, in the sinful act? And for this, the Tanya says that you're right, that it's not natural. It's not natural for us to involve ourselves in something so sinful, something so negative and far from God. The only way it's possible is because of outside influence. It's outside influence that allows us, pulls us in to do these sinful acts. It's not who we are. It's like a child. You send them to a school, you send them to a camp. Oh, my child, a pure child, a very good child, a great. They wouldn't misbehave. It's the other children, right? Every parent always says that. My child is pure like anything. The biggest tzaddik, right? The most righteous child. It's the friends. the friend, the bad influence that the friends have on the child, right? That's what we always tend to think. But the truth is, when it comes with us, this is what the Tanya tells us. We don't have this naturally. It's the outside influence. In the words of the Zohar that the Tanya uses, we use it like a demon. We use it like it's an outside demon. It's something that's a spirit that's coming within us that has influence from the environment, from the outside, and that is influencing us to be sinful. It's not natural to us. In other words, if you want to paraphrase what the Tanya is telling us, is that we have ultimately two types of negative impulses. The Yetzer Hara, the negative impulse that we have within us, there are really two categories. There is one category, which is the natural animalistic soul that we have, which is selfish. The selfish drive, the drive to be, to exist. And if that's not motivated by a divine mission, it's an animalistic soul. And that is all the mundane acts that we do, the eating and the sleeping and just enjoying life. All that, if it's not with a drive of doing what's, fulfilling my mission, connecting to God, then it's considered klipas noiga. That's that middle category. That is the natural, selfish drive that Jewish people have. That's our animalistic soul. And that's natural to us. However, when God forbid we sin, we do something which is completely negative, that already is not who we are. It's not natural to us. That is an outside influence. That's an outside influence. So that's a beautiful, beautiful way of how we see ourselves and how we see another person, another Jew. We say, look, this person is sinful. This person is so indulging and involved in such sinful acts. Terrible person. No. The person is not terrible. It's not who they are. It's not natural to them. They don't have this natural drive. If you say someone's indulging in materialistic pleasures, that I say, okay, I know where it comes from. That's who they are. Okay, they have to work on themselves to be more altruistic, more mission oriented, and not self oriented. Okay, I know where that comes from. But if someone is indulging in sinful acts, there I say, no, this is not who they are. This is not natural to them. This is an outside influence from the environment that they're in, maybe from the upbringing, from their friend, wherever it comes from. It's not who they are. This doesn't define them. It's not this drive, this motivation is not it's not their true selves. This is what the Tanya argues in chapter 8. I think it's a powerful, powerful, powerful idea. The chapter continues, which continues with an idea which is actually rarely spoken about in Hasidic works. We call it klipa detoxification. How do we get rid of it? So in general, for those of you who read chapter 8, you'll find language over here that you don't usually find in a Hasidic discourse. And that is the lengthy discussion in this chapter about the various forms of punishment that the soul has to go through after a person passes away, after death. Talks about Gehinnom, the Jewish hell, talks about the various forms of torture that we go through after 120. Now, the reason why you don't find this generally in Hasidic works is because generally the approach that Hasidus takes is that instead of focusing on the negative, you're going to be punished if you sin. We focus on the positive. Look how beautiful it is to serve God. King David says in Psalms, taste and you will see that God is good. Focus on the positive. Focus on the beauty of serving God. And there's obviously a lot of angles you could take in this direction, but that's the general focus. Don't focus on if you do this, you're going to be punished. You're going to hell. You're going to burn. All right. Don't scare. It's not a scare tactic over here, but we want to focus on how beautiful it is. You're going to enjoy it. It says that when God wanted Moshe to tell the Kohen, his brother Aaron, and the priest, that they should come serve in the temple, he didn't tell them, if you don't serve, you're going to get punished. He told them, how lucky are you? Ashreichem Yisrael. You're so lucky that you have the opportunity to serve God, to have this connection, that the immortal, finite human being should have a connection with the infinite, with God himself, through his Torah and his mitzvahs. This is amazing. Focus on the positive, and not focus on the negative. Here in Tanya, the only reason why the Tanya discusses the various forms of punishment after death, because it's not really punishment. We're trying to bring out the point over here. And the point is that there is that negative energy in various acts, the things that we do, it taints us. This negative energy, the shalish klipas atmeis, the three forms of klipa, the impure klipas. If we indulge ourselves, if we involve ourselves in these acts, it covers over. It dirties our soul. The soul isn't as pure as it was when it was born. So after the soul dies, after the soul and the body separate, the person dies. The soul has to be cleansed. The idea of Gehenna, the idea of hell, is not a punishment, and it's not eternal, right? The idea of eternal damnation is not a Jewish thing. It's there for a temporary time, for the soul to go through a cleansing process. And the Torah tells us it's not very long. It could be a few hours, a few days, max 11 months, max 12 months, not more than that. It's like a washing machine. It's like a car wash. You think the car drove on a long road trip. Great. We had a great time. But ultimately, you drive on the road trip, you get dirty. You live through life, you get dirty. You have to clean. So you go to a good car wash. Some car washes perhaps are long car washes that takes 20 minutes to get through. Some of them are more intense and they're shorter, depending on how intense it is. When I take my kids to that car wash, we have two, we're split. Some of them are crying. It's so dark. It's so scary. It's, things are flying. Water's soap and right. It's a lot going on over there. Some of them are having a great time. Why? Because ultimately we know that it's just there to clean. You come out, wow, my car is shining. Amazing. That's what we want to do to our souls. We want it to shine. And it should be able to appreciate heaven, Gan Eden, God's energy, God's light. Ultimately, what happens after a person dies, the soul goes up to heaven. All souls eventually reach Gan Eden, where we can appreciate and bask in God's light. That's the goal. But to get there, because we lose that sensitivity, we lose that appreciation to God's spiritual light, we have to go through this process. And the Tanya talks about the various forms of processes of cleansing processes, depending on the various forms of sinful acts that a person may have committed, whether it is in action, the world of action, whether it is the world of speech. We use the idea of Devarim B'Telim, which is basically worthless discussions, just talking and wasting time talking about nothing meaningful. Instead of studying Torah, which we're supposed to study during our free time, we're just wasting time talking about, I don't know what, talking politics, or I don't know, something useless. That's called wasting time. It's using speech for something negative or not holy, right? These, whether it's action, whether it's speech, these things make a blemish on our soul. And therefore, we need that cleansing process after a person dies. So again, to stay focused, why is the Tanya introducing this idea of the cleansing process after a person dies? Is only to bring out the idea that there is a spiritual energy behind every act. It's not arbitrary. It's not subjective. It's real. It's not just stop behind by the red light because overall it's going to bring safety. But if I can see that it's safe to drive at night, I'll take the red light. No, there's something real about it. It's objective. It's absolute. God says, don't do this because this is a negative energy. It's bad for you, whether you know it or not, whether you understand it or not. And if you do it, it blemishes your soul. And that blemish, it takes a rigorous cleansing process to detox and to cleanse. The end of the chapter gives us another very powerful idea, because we spoke about action, we spoke about speech, and here he talks about thoughts. Using our thoughts, our mind, also has to be controlled and for the right purposes. In other words, like this. In every category, the Tanya breaks it down into two categories of klipa. We have the negative klipa, which cannot be elevated, and we have the neutral klipa, which, if it's used properly, it's holy. If it's not used properly, it is unholy. However, we are able to elevate it even retroactively through using it for the right intention. So it's true with action, it's true with speech, it's also true with thought. In other words, like this. There are certain ideas that are holy. There are certain ideas that are in a negative realm. There's certain ideas which are kind of neutral. So you open a book, you study, you think, you're using your mind, you're using your intellect, you're using your thoughts process, right? You're using your mind to think. What's wrong with that, right? The Tanya says there is no area in life which is just, it's okay. It's just neutral. Every area in life, even our thoughts, have to be godly, have to be for the proper purpose, mission-oriented. It's not just the things that we do. It's not just the things that we say. It's even the thoughts that come into our mind. That important. Even your thoughts in your mind have to be controlled. So I'm studying. I'm an academic. I love to study, to hear ideas, to read books, right? I like to use my mind. The Tanya says you have to be careful what you read. And he breaks it down into these three categories. You have holy ideas, holy intellectual ideas. Obviously, Torah, godly ideas, divine ideas. I'm studying the Parsha, I'm studying Talmud, I'm studying God's wisdom. Obviously, that's in the holy realm. That's right over here. You have on the opposite side, you have ideas, intellect, thoughts that are completely negative, impure, whether it's about idol worship, or ideas that are antithetical to God and to Judaism. That is in that third category, the category of complete impurity. Stay away from that. Don't get involved in that. But then you have the middle category. All of the mundane, neutral ideas, right? You just studying. We call it secular studies. Is it godly? No. Is it unholy? I mean, what is it? I'm learning math. I'm learning science. I'm learning history. I'm learning philosophy. It's just ideas. Just power of ideas. Nothing holy about it, but seemingly nothing unholy about it. The Tanya says, the same way that it is true with our actions, that the mundane actions have to go either way. Either it is holy or it's unholy. I'm eating and sleeping and drinking and just enjoying life. What is the motive over here? It's klibas noiga. It's that middle category. However, the motive is important. Am I eating in order to get energy to study Torah, or am I eating to indulge in physical pursuit and just enjoy life? It's all about self. The motive is important when it comes to action. The motive is important when it comes to speech. The motive is also important when it comes to intellect, to thinking. When I am studying these secular studies, why am I studying these studies? That's important. Because if not, the Tanya says it may be even worse and more detrimental to the soul, because thoughts, intellect is so much closer to the soul. It hits home. And therefore, we have to be careful what we read and careful what we study, careful which um, less sermons and workshops and speeches and classes that we listen to, because even if it is seemingly is in this middle category, we have to use it out for the proper reasons. Tanya concludes with mentioning, name dropping, right? Some people like to name drop. So we have some name dropping here at the end of the Tanya. We mentioned two of the greatest sages in Jewish history, Maimonides and Nachmanides, right? The Rambam and the Ramban, two great sages who lived roughly, I don't know, 800-900 years ago. Maimonides and Nachmanides, these two people were both a medical profession. They were great rabbis, great sages. They have written many works in Torah, but they also studied medicine, and they actually acted as physicians for the kings, right? They were prominent doctors of their time. So they obviously took secular ideas of medicine, which isn't on its own holy ideas, and they used it for good reasons. They used it to heal people, right? They use it for good reasons. In other words, if you want to study the secular studies, it has to be done for good purposes, just for the sake of studying secular studies, just to actually have this knowledge. The Tanya says it's not necessarily a good thing, because what happens is you're taking this area, the neutral area in life, but if it's not done with the motive of holiness, automatically fits into the other category of impurity. And therefore, we have to be very careful with what we read and what we think about as well, not only for the areas of action and speech. In other words, if we have to wrap up chapter 8, and we'll open up for questions as well. We have to wrap up chapter 8. The idea is life is about being holy. Don't indulge in self. We should indulge in purpose. And this is in all areas of life, in action, in speech, in thought, in intellect, in every area in life that Tanya argues. And it's a high bar. It's a high bar, but the Tanya argues that every area in life, there's nothing neutral, nothing pariv, there's nothing mundane. Every area in life has to be purpose oriented. The only difference is that if it's something which is completely sinful, if it's something which is completely impure, from the three impure klippas, that is even retroactively, we can never elevate. If it's something which is more in the middle category, in the neutral category, in the klippas noiga category, then if I did not have the right intentions, I could later go back and elevate it. It could still retroactively be elevated to holiness, but ultimately, every area in life has to be for the purpose of serving our Creator. Again, it's a high bar, and the next few chapters talk about the struggle, because it isn't always easy, or it's never easy, right? And that's the struggle of life. It's a struggle of life to have to live up to this. So even if we're not able to live up to this every moment in life, that's our goal. We have to set our goals. Where am I headed? What is needed of me, right? What's my mission? What's my purpose? How should I even try to live? So you first have to know, what's the purpose? What was it? How was it meant to be? What does God want of me? That's the most important thing, right? You sign up for a job and you tell your boss, I want to be successful at my job. Tell me what it is. Give me a job description. I have a job description. I know what I need to do. Now, am I perfect? Perhaps not. But at least I know what to expect of myself, what to try to do, right? How to set my goals. Because I know what my job description is. God creates us with a job description. And Tanya tells us this is the job description. Are we perfect at it? Not necessarily. Is it a high bar? Absolutely. But at least we know what is asked of us, what is expected of us. Then, next few chapters, we'll talk about the struggle. We all have struggles. And guess what? It isn't a secret. God knows about these struggles. And we'll talk about how to navigate through these struggles of life. That's what the next section of Tanya is. But at least now we know what God wants from us, where the bar is, and what's needed. So that is chapter 8. I'll leave you with that.